We are live. Happy Friday, people. Yes, we're at the weekend again. That is all good. And in keeping with the fun theme of the weekend, as they always are, we have, as we always are, every day, 3 more delusional ramblings from the wonderful portion of our fan base who are decidedly crazy and come out with some wonderfully funny things sometimes. And we have 3 doozies today, 3 Gwen doozies, and it's without further ado that we should get into them. I mean, there's a heightened sense of jubilation at the moment because obviously we're 7 points ahead, and people are getting giddy and hyped up, and why not? And to add into all of this, we have Spurs sitting 1 point above the relegation zone. It is quite a beautiful moment. People are getting hyped up and I'm not against it, and especially because it gives me content to talk about and it gives me something to poke a little bit of fun at. We ain't here trying to bully people or anything like that, or call people weird names or any of this kind of silliness. So there ain't no sort of bilious vitriolic shit going on here. It is all about just having a little bit of a laugh at these things because they are kind of wonderfully funny sometimes, some of these quotes. And, bless them, these people, they just get all giddy and hyped up and they come out with some quite crazy nonsense. And we like to have a little bit of fun looking at it. First of all, we have Mazzy. So, Mazzy, I will just quote it and we'll see. This is one of those things, basically, where there's this ongoing Emery comparison, and it's not really fair because there's nothing to compare. Emery was at the club, just over a year? Was it even a year? It was roughly a year he was here, and Arteta's been here nearly 7 years. So it's very difficult to really compare and say that Emery failed or Arteta's done better than Emery. I mean, Arteta's got us second 3 times in a row, which is better than what Emery did because Emery only finished 5th. But then Emery was only here 1 season. So the comparisons are a bit trite, a bit weird, and they just don't work. And this is kind of along the same lines. She says, quote, Aston Villa were 3 points behind Arsenal in the league in December. A rival fan would say, if Arsenal had left Unai Emery, he would have won at least 2 EPL titles by now. Fast forward early March, Villa are now 16 points behind Arsenal. Rival fans. And then there's a picture of Arteta having a little kip there during training because presumably that's what he likes to do. So, a couple of things wrong with this. Like I say, Villa have lost their entire midfield for a start, and that's kind of one of the reasons why they've fallen behind. Emery, again, has only been at Villa for 3.5-ish years. Arteta has been at Arsenal twice as much time, 7 years. So, again, kind of an unfair comparison. But at the end of the day, Unai Emery has done with Aston Villa what the Arsenal fans, or what a lot of the delusional side of our Arsenal fan base perceive Arteta to have done with Arsenal. So when they talk about things like, look how far he's brought us, he's changed our lives, who could have done a better job, who could do a better job if he leaves, this is all aligning perfectly with what's happening with Emery and Aston Villa. So when Emery had a full strength team, they were 3 points behind Arsenal in the league. So fast forward to early March, Villa, who don't have as strong a squad as us, they don't have the depth of squad. We all know that we've got a good, strong, deep squad. So we don't have a comparable squad at all. I mean, arguably what Emery's done with Villa is pretty remarkable. And arguably, if you want to talk about kind of projections, then do you really think that Arteta could have done the same thing with Villa? Is he that type of manager? Again, we don't know. We don't have the evidence for this. So why do we continue to make this comparison? I mean, the best comparison I can make is the one I just gave about people saying, oh, look how far he's brought us. Look how far, look how much Arteta's changed our lives and all that, versus what Emery's done with Villa. That's the most salient comparison, because you can't compare them in terms of success in England, because they're in 2 completely different situations with 2 completely different clubs. Arsenal are a much bigger club than Villa, no disrespect to Villa. And, if we're going to do this sort of comparison, Emery's won multiple Europa Leagues, and he's won a quadruple with PSG. He's won the Europa League with Villarreal, knocking Arteta out along the way, by the way. And Villarreal have less population in their city than Arsenal have in their stadium every weekend. So what are we doing here? Could Arteta do the same thing with Villarreal? I don't know. It's speculation, but if we're going to go down this route, probably not, right? Probably not. Could Arteta have done the same things with Sevilla that Emery did? Probably not. You know, we don't have enough evidence really to make these kind of conclusions. So this point scoring over Unai Emery, we just don't know. I mean, hypothetically, would Emery have done better than Arteta if he'd had 7 years and £1 billion quid to spend? Better being, could have won a Carabao Cup, another FA Cup, could have won a title. We don't really know. We've seen him do it with PSG, but that's a different kind of league. But then the league at the moment, the Premier League, isn't that good. So maybe he could have done. I just think there's a lot of maybes, and it's just not really worth these people making these kind of comments to try and point score. And you're just trying to do this weird sort of one-upmanship, which doesn't really have any relevance to reality. Because it's kind of a maybe, maybe not. We just don't know, and we'll never know unless there is some way of seeing into the parallel, alternative, many worlds theory, millions of other universes where these things could have actually happened, and we could have had roles reversed. Arteta could have gone to Villarreal, he could have gone to Villa, Emery could still be at Arsenal. Emery was not given the time that Arteta got. Emery finished 5th. He finished 2 points off 3rd. Granit Xhaka gave away a penalty against Brighton when we were 1-0 up. We drew that game 1-1, thanks to the penalty being scored. That stopped us from getting into the top 4. If Emery had got us into the top 4, if Granit Xhaka hadn't done that madness, we would have been having a different conversation. These kind of comments wouldn't be made, probably. It's just, do you see how it's all just kind of it branches off into nothingness, basically? So this is why I put this at number 3, because I'm just kind of tired of these comparisons. I mean, if you're just going to go objectively, you have to say Emery's the better manager because of what he's achieved. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Arteta won't go on and become a better manager if he wins the title this season, if he wins another trophy, if he then goes and wins more next season. Of course, he could be looked at as better if he wins the Champions League, something like this. But it hasn't happened yet. So, shut up. Number 2, Dos, is this guy. So this is the end of a long conversation. So this kind of started, how did this start exactly? I've forgotten. He called me a pathetic little man at one point. I think this was to do with this is another branch. So this is actually a branch off from this Maisie's post, and I was just making the point to these people that I've just made to you guys. And then his initial reply here was, "Nope, that's not how it goes, you pathetic little man." So yeah, that's nice. So if we just scroll down to the one, so I made the point, which I think is fairly salient and accurate, that if we had had any sense, this comment here, if we had had any sense, we would have signed Ancelotti when we signed Arteta, instead, because he was a free agent in 2019 when we got Arteta, and obviously he went to Everton, he finished a few points, he finished 2 wins, I think, behind Arteta, who finished 8th, and I think Everton finished 11th. There were a couple of 6 points behind us, 7 points maybe, 6-7 points behind us. So not that far, really, considering the stature of the two clubs. So, I made the point, which I think was quite a decent point. I think it's quite a reasonable point to make. Do you think Ancelotti, given the same money and the same time, would have done better or worse than Arteta? And doesn't reply to that, by the way. He doesn't reply to that because obviously the answer is yes. He can't reply yes because he's an Arteta stan. So he has to say this, which brings him into number 2. Arteta is the best coach in world football. And after this season, it will be undisputed. Why? Why would it be undisputed? Because he won the title. Did that make Slot the best coach in world football last season? He doesn't quantify this. Why would it be undisputed? As if I don't even know if this is a real person or not. They got the grayed out thing there. They got 9 followers. So, but even if this is a bot, this is the sort of stuff that real people do actually say, and this is kind of the point. And he says, laugh as long as you can because parades starts in a few weeks. A bit presumptuous. And it will only end if he wants to. Oh, this is the thing you get as well, that Arteta's in complete control of his destiny and that he'll only leave the club if he wants to. So, and trust me, if he doesn't win anything this season, they might get a little bit of a rude awakening about that. So, I just put at the end, I'll be at the street party and the parades, where will you be? He's put, I will be at the parade, which is wrong. That's a lie. So, the reason this is at number 2 is how on earth can you possibly make the claim that Arteta is the best coach in world football after this season right now? Perhaps you could say it if you win a quadruple. I might allow that. I'd probably allow that. I'd say, yeah, presently, perhaps he is the best coach in world football. But are we going to get the quadruple? Are we actually going to get a quadruple? Let's see what happens first. But that's what these people like to do. They like to be super presumptuous based on nothing. People like me will make future predictions and proclamations based on historical evidence. These people will just hope. They've just got hopium. That's all it is. Which brings us to numero uno of the day. This, I thought at first this was a joke tweet. But I know this guy is really serious when he posts. So I was like, question mark, is this real? But having looked at the replies, having looked at how he's replied to other people, it's real. As I alluded to earlier, one of the extra beautiful things about this moment right now is the demise of Tottenham Hotspur. This guy, who's usually very serious about Arsenal, so I do think this is a serious tweet, he has put, and I quote, "If Tottenham's current position is a source of joy for you, it suggests a lack of empathy and compassion. Setting aside rivalries and dislike, the team's situation warrants genuine concern." Yeah, for them, not for me. "A decline would impact the North London derby's significance. Situation warrants genuine concern." What, to an Arsenal fan? Why would it? You're all Arsenal news. Oh God, I've not looked at this follow account. Let's do the follow account thing. Christ Almighty, what's it going to be? 11k. It's bad enough. It could be worse. 11k followers to a lot of nonsense. I'll be honest. I see this guy a lot. He writes a lot, and it's a lot of nonsense. But yes, the team's situation warrants genuine concern. Yeah, for Spurs. It's not for us. Not for anyone else. Every one of us is absolutely over the moon. Sorry, I need to get some water, but I'll finish up soon with this. I think everyone's absolutely over the moon at their decline, to be honest with you, and this will be generational. Imagine we win the title or more and Spurs get relegated in the same season. Like, all my animosity towards Arteta would go away for summer for a bit. It would be just the most... We couldn't even conceive of this at the start of the season. Even though they finished 16th last season, you thought to yourself, well, they're going to get better, surely. They can't get any worse. If they get worse, they'll end up getting relegated. And here we are, in this wonderful moment. I was in the chat yesterday watching Views doing a review of the... it's just, he had like a video of all the different Spurs fans reacting to each goal going in and the sending off and all that kind of stuff against Crystal Palace. And it was just nice. I'd finished a couple of other bits of content for this channel, for my movie channel, Reality Generation. And I just didn't have any pressure to work for a few hours. And I was just sitting back in my chair here, just absorbing the moment and enjoying the moment, enjoying the fact that I can look at the Premier League table and Spurs are on 29 points, Forest, West Ham on 28th. They're 1 point away from relegation. Please finish the job, Spurs. Please. The players just do not care. That's one of the problems. That's one of their main problems. Like West Ham and Forest, when you watch them, they seem to care more about staying up. The Spurs players just don't seem to give a shit. I mean, I know Porro was getting pissed off yesterday, but like, it's pretty much the only... I mean, not many of them are showing much passion, let's put it that way. But why the hell? The reason this guy is mutant of the day, the gold medal taker of the day, all Arsenal news, why would an Arsenal fan be saying this? I don't want Tottenham to come back up. The only North London derby I want to see after this season is in the Cups. They can stay down there, chicken on a ball. Why is your logo a chicken? Why have you got a chicken standing on a basketball? It doesn't make any sense. Someone needs to rebrand that shit. But to be honest with you, on the bright side, the cost of the alcohol that the Spurs fans are going to need to consume to cope with the fact that they're going to get relegated in the same season that we win the title or more will be offset by the inevitable reduction in ticket prices from being relegated to the Championship. So, you know, every cloud has a silver lining. And, you know, that's going to be lovely for them in their new stadium, which they're going to have a capacity. They're going to have like capacity crowds of up to at least 10,000 next season when they're at home to the likes of, well, no, Coventry are probably going to get promoted. That's a bad example, but you know, when they're at the likes of home to the likes of Swansea and Norwich and whatnot. Actually, if you look at the Championship now, it's kind of like a Premier League light from a few years ago. But you get my point. It's going to be a beautiful thing. I think we can all, as Arsenal fans, you know, unite and put our bickering aside about Arteta, the players, the style of play, whatever. We can all come together, pause, and truly enjoy such a momentous, quite literally once in a lifetime moment. We win the title. Spurs go down. It's genuinely the stuff dreams are made of. Genuinely. And on that joyful note, we shall end for today. I'll be back with another show tomorrow. I'll find another 3 tweets for us to poke a little bit of fun at, have a little bit of a laugh. All Arsenal news is the mutant of the day. Long may these wonderful delusional ramblings continue, and we could all get some joy out of that as well. But please, Spurs, finish the job. And if you've seen their fixtures as well, it doesn't get any better. Anfield next, then they're at home to Forest. I can't stop rubbing my hands together. It's all good. It's all good in the herd. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you tomorrow, yeah? Peace.